famous of them all. Last year we did this, got over 10,000 responses on YouTube. Some people loved it, some people hated it. Most people that hated it were SEC fans because I talked about how I knew Tennessee was going to be ranked high, as they always are. I think this year the poll people have noticed that Tennessee just is not good. They can't complete a year, right? And I talked about it. I got a bunch of hate for it. Tennessee fans and Auburn fans, I talked about Auburn as well. They all attacked me. They all went after me. I was right. I was wrong. I picked TCU to be in the top 10. That did not happen. TCU, we sucked this year. We were bad. I'll admit it. I'll say it, unlike Tennessee fans who will be like, oh no, this happened, blah, blah, blah. No, you suck. You were always overhyped. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. But now, before the national championship game, we're going to do this again. Way too early. Top 10 college football rankings. Let's do it again. We're going to start off. And first, let me give you the criteria of this, I should say. This is the way too early rankings is not what's going to happen at the end of next season. This is the end of this season and the beginning of next season, right? That's the top 10 I'm looking at. Not how these teams are going to finish at the end of next season, all right? So I don't want people saying, oh, they're not going to make it. Look at their schedule. Chill out, all right? We're having some fun here. This is all fun. Don't get all butthurt if your team doesn't make the top 10. I didn't put TCU in there because I know we suck. We're going to get better, though. We're going to get better. All right, number 10. Florida State. After an exciting win over Michigan, there's a lot of hype coming back from Florida State, and rightfully so. And I probably could have put them a little bit higher. I think maybe a couple spots higher. And they're going to get mad when I put another team up there. With DeAndre Francois at quarterback and some receivers returning, you lose Dalvin Cook, but you've got some pretty good running backs. Some pretty good ones, right? The Seminoles are poised for another run at the ACC title next season. I like Florida State. I like with that young defense. I keep them at number 10 right now. And I originally had Ohio State at 10, but then I was like, oh, I had put all this together and I didn't put Florida State in, and I forgot. And I was like, wait a minute, what about FSU? I saw a picture of them and I was like, oh yeah, Florida State. So I put them at number 10. That's where I got them right now. And number 9, probably we could switch 10 and 9, but I'm going to keep it where it's at. Number 9, Wisconsin. Underrated possibly, but Wisconsin knows how to play defense. And they played all season long, and they're going to continue to play it again next season. They're going to dominate in 2017, defensively wise. Offensively, maybe it's just a style, and it's just me. Again, I'm trying not to be biased, but I don't like their offensive style. It scares me because all you have to do is shut their running game down, which it sounds easy to say. It's much easier said than done, right? But once you do that, or you can limit it enough, this team is done. This team is not going to air the ball out. You don't have to be scared. You could put 6-7 men in the box and still play normal defense and shut them down. That's what worries me. Hopefully some new weapons will help the Badgers. Right now, give your credit. Defensively, keeps them in every single game. Going with Wisconsin, number 9. Number 8. Possibly the biggest dark horse for the college football playoff next season. Way too early. That's the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Watching them live in person this season in the Alamo Bowl was exciting, and as a TCU fan, a little disappointing, right? The Cowboys are locked and loaded for 2017 season. They are ready to go. The return of Mason Rudolph, Justice Hill, who's I believe is just going to be a sophomore this upcoming season. James Washington returning, a defense that is really stepped up in a huge way. They lose some DBs, but they should be able to produce some really good defensive line and linebacker talent next season. James Washington, I meant to say this on him. In my opinion, he's the best slot receiver in college football, especially entering next season. He was incredible. Literally, go vertical. Rudolph just tosses it up there, and Washington gets it every single time. It's incredible. Oklahoma State's going to be a fun team to watch next season, except for when they play TCU. I'm not going to have that much fun watching them. But It's going to be fun watching them next season. My dark horse for a college football playoff team, Oklahoma State. Number 7, and Florida State fans, I'm sorry, Michigan. I like what they return. Jim Harbaugh, you can never count him out. I was really shocked to see how they were pushed around by Florida State in the Orange Bowl. I really was. I had Michigan winning, and I honestly had them winning probably like 34-19. I thought that defense was going to lock down Florida State. Completely wrong there. Probably just like this top 10. But, Wilton Spike, he did really well for his first season at quarterback starting. He was a junior this year, senior next year. He has a chance to improve, of course. I'm a fan of what the running back core brings back next season. I like Kareem Walker. I really do. I have a feeling about Kareem Walker. I don't think he played that much or he redshirted this year, but I have a feeling next season might be his time to go. Jim Harbaugh will have his team ready, and that's why I want to keep Michigan right at 7. Not maybe a little too high, but it's not too much. Number 6, Washington. Now, it's tough to say that it was a disappointing loss to Alabama because, well, it was Alabama. They put up a huge fight. They hung in there with arguably the best, right? And Jake Browning, he's only going to get better. Myles Gaskin, Coleman at running back. One of the most obvious analysis that could have been made throughout the season for the Huskies, and most Huskies fans noticed this, and especially everybody in the country noticed this come the Peach Bowl, was the lack of quickness on that offensive line. Alabama, while yes, that's a majority NFL talent, this offensive line looked like a junior high offensive line. They looked terrible. They're the ones snapping the ball. Alabama's already there. They were slow. They were so slow, and that's what screwed up for Jake Browning. You couldn't do a lot when you've got a half a second and you got to scramble for your life and get the ball out. So the O-line needs to get fixed. It was exploited very quickly in that game. They'll be losing some defensive starters to the NFL. They lose a couple of wide receivers. John Rossi was one of my favorite receivers, but he was exposed. I really think he probably should have stayed another year because Alabama, again, potential NFL DBs, John Ross was exposed badly. He can't get off the line on press. He can't. It's just something he cannot do. Not against a elite DB. He cannot get off the line on press. It was very obvious to see that. And while I know he's already a small guy, he's got to get straightened up. He was pushed around like it was nobody's business. I was shocked to see how John Ross was outplayed in that game. So they'll be losing some guys to the NFL in graduations, but the Huskies, they know how to recruit. They've been pulling in some top recruiting class very quietly. With the Pac-12 down, Huskies, they're poised for another big run, so I'm going to keep them at 6. Number 5, and this is going to come as shocking since the college football playoff the national championship game hasn't happened. Number 5 is Clemson. Win or lose, they won't be number 1. If you got to look at maybe that last poll, and then we have another one right after that where your last poll is what you finished with for the season, and then they've come out with another one very quickly to start off. The loss, of course, of Deshaun Watson is going to hurt this offense. I know they got Hunter Johnson coming in at quarterback, the freshman who's poised to be somebody big. But you got to understand and feel confident that no matter what you lose on offense, Deshaun Watson, Wayne Gallman, Artavis Scott, Mike Williams, you've got to feel very comfortable and confident because what you bring back on defense, that defense is going to keep Clemson in every single game this year. For how long? That's to be determined by how well the offense can step up and play. But that defense will keep you in the game for at least 3 quarters. And sometimes that's what you need. The defense, there's no more worrying about what they lose on defense. Past 4 years that Clemson's lost the star NFL talent after NFL talent, and they've just reproduced. They're just Alabama on defense. They keep producing NFL talent, and no matter who they lose and we start getting worried about them, they produce another one. So I'm not worried about Clemson. They will stay in every single game this season. Of course, losing Wayne Gallman, losing some of those guys very quietly. Clemson, over the past 5 to 7 years, has become wide receiver U. They've produced NFL talent at receiver over and over and over. Very quietly. We like to talk about all these other schools. Clemson has continued to produce NFL talent at wide receiver. Can they do it again this year? It'll be interesting to see. I still believe that the Clemson Tigers will finish, in the top 10 next year. But right now, I got them at number 5. Win or lose a national championship. Number 4, Oklahoma. Now, I know Oklahoma, that's another team that's been kind of hyped up and somewhat makes expectations and then doesn't. I think they will. The return of a potential Heisman favorite next season, Baker Mayfield, along with a really good Sooner team overall, is enough to put them in discussion of playoff talk next season. We might see another Big 12 championship with the Bedlam rivalry of Oklahoma State and Oklahoma to decide it. I like Oklahoma. I'm putting them at 4. Dominating win over Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. Auburn shouldn't have even been there. And I don't hate Auburn. I don't hate Tennessee. I just hate the hype that they always get. And then they fail to meet expectations, and yet they still get hyped. They shouldn't be anywhere in the top 15 next year, but they probably will be. So number 3 is where it gets fun, right? This is where it gets really fun. This is where the hate comes in. It's okay. It's okay. I can handle it. After losing a classic Rose Bowl game in which we saw the emergence of quarterback Travis McSorley, James McFranklin, I'm sorry. I apologize. I made my words by midseason. I said you should have been fired. I said Penn State should have fired James Franklin. I'm sorry. I ate those words. I was completely wrong about that. You now have a top 5 program. The rise of the Penn State Nittany Lions is back. They are back. Penn State is back. It was a crazy game. They're only going to get better. That recruiting class is all going to shoot up, and it's exciting. Penn State's back. I have them at number 3. I know. Crazy. And number 2, well, let the bandwagoning begin. Let the hate flow through. If it hasn't already, after beating Penn State in arguably the best Rose Bowl game, yes, I'm even talking about better than the Texas USC game. It was arguably better. The Trojans finish in the top 3 and have another potential Heisman favorite at quarterback, Sam Darnold. The redshirt freshman lit up the Nittany Lions and broke so many records throughout the season. Coach Clay Helton has these young men buying into the system. He has them bought in, and he's getting these recruits bought in too. Levi Jones, if you're watching this, go to USC. You'll start very quickly. This team knows how to fight, right? Fight on. I don't believe in the hype. The USC usually got pretty big hype the past few years or several years ago. USC's back. USC's back. I have them at number 2. I know where they started off at the beginning of the season, but if you look at the way they've ended the season, who they played, who they beat, and how they beat them, this team knows how to fight. Number 2 is USC Trojans. And, of course, at number 1, the TCU Horn. No, I'm just kidding. I wish. Hopefully. Maybe next time. Alabama. I mean, do I really need to say anything about Alabama, who about the number 1 team is? Win or lose on Monday, the Crimson Tide is number 1. They return a lot. They lose a lot on the defensive side to the NFL. They reproduce. It's just how it goes. The Crimson Tide will be given a number 1 spot. And if they win the national championship on Monday, this will officially make Alabama the greatest dynasty in college football history. No argument. Sure, they don't have the winning streak that USC, Miami, that they had, Ohio State had, those 30-plus win streaks. But to win 5 national championships in 8 years is something special that no one's done. That is a dynasty. Nick Saban, if winning that, gets 6 national championship ties, the great Bear Bryant, that is something special. They continue to recruit top talent. They win national championships. They use and abuse those players. They go off in the NFL and they become bust. That's okay. We're talking about college football right now. Alabama's number 1. This is my way too early college football top 10 rankings. Let me know your top 10 in the description down, or in the comments down below. Let me know where you have your teams. Where do you are? You call me crazy for having USC and Penn State up there. That's fine. Don't dare say Tennessee or Auburn. I will block you. I will block you. That is it. Let me know in the comments down below. I wasn't biased here. I promise. Follow me on Twitter @ShortSportsShow and let me know your top 10